Hello my witches, welcome back to my channel. I am the City Witch and today we're going to be doing one of my fantastic book reviews. The book we're reviewing this time is called Throwing Bones, Crystals, Stones and Curios by Mystic Dylan. And if you don't know who Mystic Dylan is, he's a fantastic practitioner who offers bone reading services. So if you'd like to go ahead and book one of his services and get one of his bone readings, you can do that through his social media. All the links are provided in the description of the video, so go ahead and check those out. Before I deep dive into this book review, I want to take a moment to remind you all that these book reviews are my own personal thoughts, experiences and opinions. I have read the book from cover to cover and I've kind of listed the neutrals, the positives and the negatives in regards to this book that I personally noticed and found. I'm hoping that when you've finished watching this book review, it will help you decide if this is the right book for you and if you wish to purchase it and add it into your magical collection or not. So let's take a look at the back of the book and see what we've got. Discover a divination system that delves deep into the psyche and helps you peer into the future, explore your past and address issues in your present. Fortune casting or throwing bones and other objects for divination is an age-old magical practice. Bones are like totems and can be any item, something from nature like shells, roots and crystals, or trinkets and found objects such as dice, coins or keys. Whatever you use, casting will help you create a definitive divination system based on your personal practice. It is through casting that you can truly enhance your intuition and connect to the spiritual, earthly and supernatural realms. Through collecting your objects, you are building a unique alphabet and language that will help you answer important questions. This beautifully illustrated practical how-to book contains advice and suggestions for creating your own set of bones, 20 unique casting layouts with full instructions on how to use them when addressing different sorts of questions. Just lay the book flat and cast directly onto the page. Details on many other popular forms of divination, including scrying, pendulum dowsing, cartomancy and rune craft, so you can find the method that best suits you. Okay, so let's take a look at the contents of the book. The book is fully illustrated in colour, so you get these beautiful images throughout. In the contents, we have Meet Mystic Dylan and an introduction to this book. What exactly is divination? Types of divination, understanding psychic senses and traditions and techniques. Then in chapter 1, we dive straight into cleriomancy, the art of casting lots. So this teaches you how to build your psychic arsenal, build your cleriomancy kit, half in, half out, preparing for cleriomancy readings, cleansing and consecration rites and protection rituals. Then in chapter 2, we touch on the subject of necromancy. So bear in mind, guys, that the word necromancy is an old term for medium. So mediumship is like the modern name for it, but the original name was necromancy. So in this section, we have necromancy incense and a necromantic ritual. So this ritual helps you bless and bond with your kit, and the incense is something that you can make that you burn when you're doing your readings. And then over here we have chapter 3, scrying. This one covers Venus glass, oil and water scrying, cup reading ritual and scrying symbolism. And then in chapter 4 we cover the subject of pendulums in depth, so how to do a pendulum dowsing reading. And then other forms of divination is chapter 5. Here we have, and I'm going to try and pronounce all of these guys, so don't come after me if I say them wrong, astragalliomancy, modern dice divination method, oomancy, which I believe was to do with eggs, and then we have egg cleansing and reading, astrology, astronomy, runecraft, Nornic rune casting, cartomancy 3-card spread, and then in chapter 6 we have all of the different boards, and I will actually show you those, guys, because there's 20 of them. And then we end with an index, dedication and special thanks, and further reading suggestions. So I'm now going to kind of just flip through the book a little bit, show you these beautiful pages. So this is Mystical Dylan himself. Like I said, he does fantastic readings, and you can book him for those on his social media. The book is very pretty. It's very aesthetically pleasing. It has plenty of photos and images. It shows you some of the various items you could be adding into your kits. Has these beautiful pieces of artwork and doodles as well. And then obviously we get some photos of the bones that you could be working with. The book itself is well written. It's organized in a very nice way. It's very easy to understand. I love that image. Look at that, guys. It's so pretty. The book is definitely 100% beginner friendly. And it has plenty of beginner advice for learning how to perform clariomancy readings and osteomancy readings. So osteomancy is just the practice of having a kit which is only made of bones. And clariomancy is a mixture of charms, bones, and natural objects found in nature. So here is your necromantic incense. So it says 1 tablespoon of mugwort, 1 tablespoon of wormwood, 1 tablespoon of mullein, 1 tablespoon of earth from a cemetery. Rosemary can be used as a substitute. I do like that he added that substitute in there. And then obviously he teaches you how to assemble and mix and make it. And then here we have your ritual to connect with your bones, which I did actually perform, and I thoroughly enjoyed doing that. I've had my bone kit now for the past 8 years, and I've built it up, little by little, bit by bit, and it was really nice to perform this ritual. I enjoyed it, and it was really easy, really laid back, something a beginner could do very easily without much difficulty. Then we have here some of the different types of divinations. So oil and water scrying. Here we have a black bowl. I do actually do black bowl scrying myself. We have cup readings, the symbolism of what you might see in your cup, pendulums, other forms of divination. So here we take a look at the dice and umancy, which, like I said, was eggs. I remembered correctly. We have astrology and the different houses and planets and their influences upon your star sign. I will say this is very basic when it comes to astrology. If you want to dive into it more, actually get a book on looking at your birth chart and really going into detail about you personally. You'll need the time you were born, the location you were born, the day you were born, and that will help you on free websites online. Make your birth chart, and it will allow you to then deep dive into the houses of influence, the planets that influence you, where all the star signs were, where the moon and sun was. And there are some excellent books on working through that. One of them, which I believe is called, I think it's called Weaving Your Fate, if I remember rightly, on Amazon. And that one is actually a workbook that you work through, and it teaches you all about yourself based on your birth chart, and it was fantastic. If you remember, I will link it in the video, but if anyone's interested, drop a comment if I haven't already done so, and I will send you the information for that book. Then we have Runecraft, Nornic Runecast, Cartomancy, which is obviously divination with tarot and playing cards. And then we have our boards. So here is all the different types of boards, and I'll show you them one at a time so you can see them all. So we have our bone casting board. This very much speaks to me of voodoo hoodoo practices with this beautiful pattern on it here. If you want to simplify it, you can simply just divide it into sections, and then each little quarter here will represent an influence. So you might choose to go with earth, which could be money, material gain, career, finances. Fire could be your passions, your desires, the things that you are truly passionate about. Water would be love, family, your connections. And air would be your logic, reason, education, spirituality. So you can split it up like that, or you can split it up into sections like home life, you know, friends and connections. You could split it up into things like career and money, love, you know, common things people ask for. And then where your charms fall or your bones fall will tell you what's going on in those areas of that person's life. So that's how I would use that board. And then we have the Druid Circle. So here you're casting and you're asking a question and it will actually answer it for you. So the resolution, the issue at hand, action to take, things to avoid, others involved, current energy, your inner self, contributing factors, and then there's also a yes, no there. So that will give you your direct answer. And where items fall here will tell you about things that you might need to work on and in what way based on the item that falls in that zone. We have the Satyr Square. The Oracle, we have the All-Seeing Eye. I actually really liked that one. We have the Wheel of Fortune. So this is what I was talking about before, about dividing it up. So you've got the physical, financial, mental, we've got spiritual, family, emotional, love. So you can split it up like that as well and make your own board very easily. Then we have the Serpent. This was also one that I've used and enjoyed. Medusa's Gaze. We have a Wishing Star. And then we have the Seer's Eye. So want a direct answer with no frill. This board is intended to get you the nitty-gritty of a situation. Sometimes we just need to know if the answer is a resounding yes or no. This board should only be utilised if you're willing to heed the wisdom it offers you. So this is kind of like just using a regular pendulum board. Sun and Moon, again, this is very much just like a regular pendulum board. Astrological, so this might be looking into houses or planets or maybe star signs of influence. Prophetic pendulum, so this is helping you point to a yes or no answer. You can look at dates or perhaps even times, and then you've also got the full alphabet and of course the star sign. So again, this is very much just like a pendulum board. Venus Vibes. Hecate's Weekly Prediction Wheel. Weekly Guidance Forecast. Problem Solving Map. The Sibyl's Circle. The Witch's Board, the Fool's Journey. And then there is some information about the Fool's Journey as well. And then we end with our index and further reading recommendations. So, what are my thoughts and opinions on this book? Well, as I've said, it's very aesthetically pretty. There is a lot of artwork in this book. There is photos, art, doodles, illustrations, and a look at the various items that you potentially could be using in order to perform different divination techniques. The book is well written and organised, very easy to understand, and extremely beginner, novice friendly. Positives. A great introduction to osteomancy and cleriomancy. It covers all of the basics, such as different bones and charms you can use, how to build your kit, blessing, consecration and cleansing of all of your items in order to dedicate them to your practice. It offers some creative ideas and recipes to make incenses and perform various rituals. And there are 20 casting boards to choose from and use. Now for my personal thoughts on what I consider to be a negative. This book does cover a range of different types of divinations. While this might be good for a beginner, it's not so good for someone who is looking for a complete book on just the subject of osteomancy for using bones only. It reduces the focus on the bones and took up valuable space in the book and turned the book into just another book on general divination techniques, instead of what the title suggests, a book of bone throwing. I've yet to actually find a book just on the subject of bone throwing that is actually really good and gives insightful information. A lot of the information I've gathered over the years for bone readings and developing my own technique has been drips and drabs here and there, bits and pieces of information, and I've had to figure it out on my own. There isn't a single book on the market that I would recommend for buying on just the subject of bones at the moment. This book is basically a book of divination, not a book on just throwing bones, and I was hoping it was going to be Dylan's personal insights and recommendations on how to build your bone kit, what types of bones are good for what, and actually learning to cast the bones and work with the bones in different ways with a little bit of necromancy thrown in there. And although he touched on necromancy and some of the information I wanted was in the book, it's not a complete book on bone throwing. It's a divination book that covers a wide variety of divinations. If that's what you're looking for, fantastic. But for me personally, that wasn't what I was looking for. And I actually have 20 different books like this in my collection. So I was hoping this was going to be a smidge different, and that slightly disappointed me personally. However, I want to point out I thoroughly enjoyed this book. It will be staying in my collection, and I do think it is a wonderful beginner book to throwing bones and, of course, practicing different forms of divination and dipping your toes into scrying and a little bit of necromancy. So if that interests you, this is definitely going to be a good choice of book to get. The other thing I want to point out, because there was a lot of information about the other divination techniques and a lot of artwork in this book, there was very little information, which surprised me. I paid $15.99 for this book on Amazon, so it wasn't breaking the bank specifically. However, I would have liked more information and less artwork. So very aesthetically pretty, but I'm more the kind of person that wants facts and information than pretty. So that was another thing for me. The last thing I want to mention is the casting boards are useful and a nice addition in this book. However, many of them are not explained properly, which makes it difficult to know how they should be used. More instructions would have been nice and should have been included, in my opinion. And you probably will have to develop your own way of using these boards. I also think it would have been nice if the pages with the casting boards were actually in an envelope loose so that you could remove them from the book and actually use them as proper boards. Now, because they're in this book, you have to really flatten the book out. You run the risk of damaging the spine. And although you can cast on the book, I mean, if I open it out, that one's pretty flat, but you do have this lump here. So as you cast onto it, things are going to roll here. So you're going to have to pin it down with maybe rocks or something heavy here on the spine, which damages the spine, in order to keep that flat. Or the other possibility is ripping the page out, or photoshopping this, or maybe, take a screenshot on your phone and printing this page off and laminating it and use it that way. But I actually think, to go the extra mile, it would have been really nice if Dylan had thought a tiny bit ahead and gone, you know what, let's create an envelope at the back of this book where people can actually slide out these sheets, these beautiful divination boards, and actually place them down and use them for their casting. So that is a little critique from me there. I would have preferred them to have been separate and not just pages in this book. So that concludes my review. There isn't much to say in the way of negativity. The book is mostly a positive for me. I would easily score this a 7 out of 10. It's a very enjoyable read. I loved the necromancy ritual. I really liked making the incense. And there was a few tips and tricks I picked up from Dylan that I have now added into the way that I cast and work with my bones. And there is also some really good information on working with the bones. So Dylan actually suggests that not only do you gather bones from, different animals, consider the type of bone from the body part for the influence in your reading, and then of course consider the animal it comes from as well. So if you can have a wide variety of animals, that will give you much more in-depth information for your readings. Or you could choose bones just from one animal that you want to work with, and then you can think about the body part that bone comes from and what it would relate to in regards to the question. And if you don't like that and that's too much for you, start off with just generally bones, assign one meaning to each bone that's simple for you to remember and understand, ask the question, throw down on a mat, and where they land is going to tell you a little bit about what's going on in that zone in regards to your question, which will simplify your readings. But for those who are ready for more complex readings and to add more depth to their readings, especially if you're reading for clients, I would suggest getting bones from various different animals, from different body parts, and considering those influences as well. And also consider the difference between animals that are in the ocean or rivers and lakes compared to those that are flying above us and those that are on land. And you can include the elements in that as well. So there was definitely some really good tips and tricks in this book, things that I had touched on but needed more information on. So I did learn something from this book. However, it wasn't quite what I was looking for, but still a good book nonetheless. And that concludes my review. So thank you so much for watching. I do hope that you've enjoyed this, and perhaps this is a book you will add into your collection. If you have any thoughts or questions, or you want to discuss anything I've said in this video, please go ahead and leave me a comment. I do check every single day and reply back as quickly as I can. If you enjoyed this video, remember to give me a thumbs up, click the bell, and YouTube will tell you when my next video comes out. If you'd like to offer like, love and support to my channel, you can do that through my Amazon wishlist or my PayPal link, and both are provided. If you wish to book me for any of my magical or divination services, you can do that through Facebook, Instagram, X, Tumblr, or via email, and all the links are there, guys. Thank you so much for watching and supporting me till the end. I do appreciate it. Many blessings, and enjoy your divination journey. Blessed be.